Hey YouTube, remember to like and subscribe, and please comment your best dad jokes that I want read in the comments. Thanks.
Perfect. Thanks, Crunchy. All right. Let's jump into our guides. How about that? What's up, YouTube? Mr. LMSC here, and today we are going to be jumping into some guides. I'm going to be going through some various Paladin guides. This guide will be for the Zealot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and introduce the Zealot as a character, a little bit of the playstyle, a little bit of the leveling process, some gear along the way, and some endgame gear, as well as all of the skills and stats and things like that as you go along. So one thing that I always hated, absolutely hated, whenever I was looking for a guide growing up, is that they would just show you the very end game gear and build, and that was it. And you're like, cool, that's great when you're level 90. What do I do at level 45? Well, ask no more. Mr. Llama is here to help. So the first thing that we will do is we'll go ahead and just talk a little bit about the Zealot and the playstyle and all of that stuff, right? So the first thing that we note is Zeal is a level 12 skill, which means you can get it at level 12, obviously. So until that time, you can use Sacrifice, you can use just a normal attack if you'd like. That's pretty much what you're going to be using, right? So Sacrifice takes a little bit of damage to yourself, but it's also a synergy, as you can see, for Zeal. So you end up getting a little bit of the damage there anyways, and that ends up working out, right? So we can go ahead and start, you'll be maxing out your Zeal, right, as you go along. Now, additionally, you'll probably want to get like a point in charge, just because charge is really useful for just movement, right? You can have it on either side, and you can just use this for moving around. This is just very helpful in the game to just move along, right? So we can go ahead and do that. Additionally, over here, Might Aura is a great just starting aura for it, right? So you're just going to have the damage from your Might Aura. You can charge around and Zeal. And this is kind of your base early game setup. Additionally, Holy Fire is a very fantastic early game setup with it. It is going to be fire damage, but what a lot of people think is that it's just look at the fire damage at the bottom there, 3 to 5, right? Or you can see 4 to 6. This is the like pulsing damage, but the big thing is the fire damage added to your attack. So every time you add a point in here, you're really adding a lot of damage to your attack. And you can see that, like, this is just with my fist. I do 4 to 8 damage, and that's with my might. But if I put Holy Fire on, now I do 42 to 57 damage, right? And so all of a sudden, just with a few points in Holy Fire, when I'm leveling up, I can actually do a good amount of damage. So this is a great skill for normal, just going through, using Holy Fire and Zeal. Does a lot of damage. Pretty broken, just in terms of damage overall. But Might Aura, if you just want to be purely on that physical damage. Of course, you also have things like Holy Freeze, which adds cold damage to your attack. Same idea as Holy Fire, except you also get that aura, which of course has a freeze effect and a slow, or a chill effect, I guess technically, and a slow to monsters around you, right? So once again, another very good skill. Holy Shock does the same thing, but it adds lightning damage. There are a lot of different kinds of builds that are like using Holy Shot kind of, and you get this like Templar style build, and you can use like griffins and whatever stuff. We're not going to talk about that here, but that is some other stuff. So there is some builds that utilize this. What we are going to be discussing though is just getting into plain Zeal first, and then we can talk about like a Holy Freeze Zealot or something as well. So for our plain Zeal, this is going to be how we eventually want to respec, right? So we talked about as we're going along, we're going to be doing Holy Fire, maybe Holy Freeze, Might Aura, one of these 3 auras, and we will be pumping Zeal and having our points in Zeal, right? And then When you hit level 30, 31, 32, whatever it is, around there, you get a couple points into Fanaticism. You're going to want to switch into Fanaticism. And the reason is because Fanaticism is just amazingly strong. It like bugged. Stop it. Ignore the holy freeze. It's not a real thing. It's a visual glitch. When you respec, sometimes it does things like that. So you have to like turn off your auras and then do this. And it should... Why do I still have holy freeze? Hello? Is there some like glitched charm I have or something? Alright, well. Ignore the visual glitch. There we go. Sorry, that's really annoying. People always be like, but you're using both of them. So I just don't even want to give them that idea. Right? So, what is our build going to look like? We're going to end up maxing Fanaticism and maxing Zeal. Okay, these are going to be your two most important maxes right here. Additionally, going for your Holy Shield is very, very nice. And this is one of those things you can see that for every point in it, you increase the duration, you increase your defense bonus, you increase your blocking chance. Look at the successful blocking, right? So for all those points in it, the blocking will go up. Eventually, it kind of tops out. I'm trying to remember exactly. It's probably around here that it really starts to top out. But you're increasing your blocking chance, which is always very good. And so then when you cast this, your chance to block already 38%. And that's just using some like random spirit here. And then it just makes it's very easy, right, to basically get your points to get to the max block, depending whatever shield you're using and all that. But this helps for that. Additionally, you can see the duration's very high, yada, yada, yada. Now, sacrifice, of course, is the synergy. So you're going to be... Yes, and this is also what a lot of people use. Some people use this for an Ubers build as well. You can be Zeal, or you can just be Smite, right? And additionally, because Smite is so simple, you've already got Holy Shield right there. You can make this into a sort of hybrid Zeal/Smiter build. Okay, so here we've got our we've got Zeal right there, max. We've got Fanaticism, which you can see doesn't have any synergies. We've got Holy Shield maxed out. We've got Sacrifice maxed out. Then after that, I would say just going for Defiance. This is just even more. And additionally, if you want like a point in Salvation because you want to be safe where you're running around, right? When you hit like level 30, especially when you're playing through, getting a point into Salvation, a point into Redemption. These two things are very useful because this is going to be just super helpful in cleaning out the throne room, or this is going to give you 60 all res at level 1. So yes, your damage might go down, but you just kind of put this on when you're in a very dangerous area, right? So okay, I'm in a really scary area. I run around with this, and then when I get to my safe area, I switch back to Fanaticism, right? Like, and then I'm in a scary area again. I put this on. Now my resistances are maxed. So very simple to do. You can see I'm in hell. I have like no gear. I've got this spirit, and then just my like Annie and Torch. And my res are maxed right there just by having this, 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 and this. So Paladin can get the resistances very easily. And so that's just, a nice little 1-point wonder. So is this, right? Just easy 1-point wonders right there. So like I say, at this point, the remainder of the skills, if you want to go into Smite because you want to do some hybrid, go ahead. This character's level 94, so I have a couple extra skills. Or you can just boost Defiance. And this is just a great way to just keep boosting that defense up so you can increase your defense and make it harder for monsters to hit you when you're standing still, right? Because remember, when you're running, monsters just always hit you. Your defense basically goes down to 0 for calculation purposes. So now that we've talked a little bit about that, a little bit of building along the way, I'll talk a little bit of the fighting along the way, right? So when you're in normal, you'll be pretty fine just running that Holy Fire, that Zeal, that Holy Freeze, maybe a little later if you'd like, and then getting into Fanaticism. I'm guessing you'll end around 30 or whatever it is in normal, something like that. When you get to Nightmare, you're going to want to get some form of cannot be frozen. If you find any cannot be frozen in normal, that can also be wonderful. Oh yes, also, as one person points out, Vengeance can be a nice 1-point wonder just for dealing with immunities. Personally, I just skip physical immunities, but this can be a way to deal with them if you don't want them. Additionally, you can have a Mercenary with some sort of elemental damage on a weapon. That works as well. But cannot be frozen is going to be absolutely huge for this build, because if you are stuck swinging 4 times and you're slowed from being frozen, you're just going to get locked everywhere, and it's just going to be absolutely terrible. So you do not want to do that. You want to get cannot be frozen. This can come from Ravenfrost. This can come from Death Sash. This can come from Duriel's Shell or Spirit Shroud. Blah, blah, blah. All of those things. But of course, all of those things require you to do a little bit of farming, right? Maybe you're killing some monsters over and over, trying to find it, whatever it is. So how do we make sure we get it? We do... Let me see if I have this shield actually in here. No. We make a... I don't think I have one in here. We make a rhyme shield. That's what it is. Okay, so here's what you can do. You can actually go to Act 2 right here, and you can just farm Drognin. Notice I'm in Act 2 normal.
Welcome back.
Go to Drognin, look at his shields until you find a 2 open socket. I prefer these bone shields because they have a little bit better chance to block. And this isn't the best map to farm it on because the exit's over there. It's easier when the exit is in the top right. But you just come here and you find your 2 open socket shield, and you put Shell Rune and Eth Rune, which you can get Eth Rune at normal Countess. You can get Shell Rune at Nightmare Countess. So by doing just some quick, simple farming on that, additionally, maybe you find those runes elsewhere, blah, blah, blah. We'll pretend like we found it. You can make yourself a rhyme shield, and it is super, super nice. Right, so Sheoleth, in that shield, it has 25 all-res. You can also put it into a Paladin shield if you found a Paladin shield that was 2 open sockets somewhere along the way. So that's kind of the best thing. Maybe you find a Paladin shield, it's got 15 all-res on it or something, and then you put Sheoleth in it. Now you get 40 all-res, right? So look for those sorts of things, and you got your shield, and you're good to go. And now you have Cannot Be Frozen. And then you can carry that all the way through to the end of the game, or until you find Cannot Be Frozen on some other source, and then you can replace it with, whatever other shield that you like along the way. So that's kind of a really important piece there. Something to also note is having something with Crushing Blow will be very helpful against bosses. So this can come from a strength, which is, I have to have a strength in here somewhere. Oh boy, let me see. That's a Malice. Malice is actually not a bad early weapon for this build, right? You get the open wounds on it and stuff. Nope. That's also not bad, right? Just some easy damage. Where's my strength at? No. All right, I don't think I have a strength in here. All right, well, strength is amped here. And then a black is Thol Io. I don't want to say it wrong. Thol Io Neff. Okay, I was going to say Neff, but for some reason I was thinking Shale. I was like, that's not right. Thol Io Neff will make a black runner, which has even more Crushing Blow on it. These can be very good for bosses, but one thing you'll note is that your damage might lack a little bit against regular monsters because Crushing Blow is a percentage of damage to the monster. So against a boss that has 1 billion life, not in Diablo 2, but 100,000 life, 50,000 life, whatever it is, against a boss, you're going to be chunking them for a lot. Against a minion or a mob that has 500 life, it's like, okay, maybe I could do better with something that does more damage. So items you can just kind of find along the way that could be really nice could be, let's just look at random things. The Redeemer. That's a fantastic weapon, right? Obviously, it's a little bit later stage, but I mean, it's got good damage on it. It's got some skills, got good ED, minus target defense. That's very nice. You can look at things like Cold Steel wouldn't be terrible in the earlier stages of it. You could look at Blood Rise. Nell Striker's got Crushing Blow. That's a very good early game one. If you found that, that'd be super nice. Hexfire isn't bad. That's got pretty decent damage on it. Also has Ignore Target Defense. Zakharum's Hand is a very good one as well. It's got Ignore Target Defense, which is very nice for hitting purposes. Additionally, good attack speed, good ED on it. Really, there's just a lot of items that you could find along the way that could just be nice. So you're really just looking for attack speed and damage on them. And then if they also have, a little bit of Crushing Blow or Deadly Strike or, ED, whatever, all those things, are nice and added elemental damage and whatever things. But just get something that's fast and can hit decently hard. You can even get some cool rare items that have that stuff. All sorts of things. Cold Steel, not bad. There's really a lot of things. And then additionally, you can upgrade weapons. So remember that. You might find a weapon, like for instance, let's go back to Nell Striker. Not Nell Striker. I want to go to the Redeemer. Where was that? Oh, there it is. Zakharum's Hand, right? So you can upgrade this if the damage starts to peter out a little bit, and then it can be decent again for a little while until you find another replacement for it eventually or something, right? So lots of good items that you can get along the way, and your weapon is going to be probably your most important thing. And then the other things I would say is really look for, obviously, Cannot Be Frozen from the Rhyme Shield or wherever else you can get it, and then getting IAS. So another thing you can do is you can go to like normal Nightmare, and you can shop like gloves at Elzix or something, right? Or you can Anya shop gloves as well. And you can just look for 20 IAS gloves, right? That's all we are doing here. We just go there, yes. Trade, look for the gloves, and they're actually a yellow, so you can tell, right? Without looking at them, you can tell by the color, yes. When you get a pair, not this yellow, like a dark yellow. So you can just literally look for a dark yellow glove by shopping at Anya, and then get yourself 20 IAS. And I'm not going to sit here and shop the whole time for it, but I'm just trying to give you the general idea of it, right? So you just look for that like goldish glove. That'll be 20 IAS, and there you go. With that, you'll have 20 IAS gloves, and that'll be very, very helpful in just increasing your speed of your attack, so you hit harder, hit faster, right? All of that stuff. So hopefully that kind of describes the playthrough. The other thing I can say is you might have to take it a little slow in certain areas, especially like the Chaos Sanctuary, where you're going to have Decrepify. In those cases, you're just going to have to back off a little bit. And one more thing to remember is that Zeal hits 4 times, right? So, I guess 5, sorry. Here. So you'll see that I can't move when I'm locked in on that hit, right? Obviously, I could swap cast it if you want to do that, but we're not going to talk about swap casting it. So, the faster you can hit, and if you're in a situation where you're decrepified, where you're frozen, where there's Holy Freeze near you, all of that stuff, and you go up to hit stuff, you have to be sure that you're going to survive for all of the time that it takes for the 5 hits. So people like Diablo can be a little scary because of his lightning hose, and normal especially because you can't be underneath it. Additionally, just any grouping of monsters where you're going to get stuck in that kind of wait time from all of that. So, yeah, I think we've covered kind of the basics through there. Let's talk a little bit about the gear that we're going to start to work into along the way, right? So this is going to be stuff that you're going to work towards, and I'm going to talk about alternatives as well, but this is kind of where I would say, like, yeah, this is what I would build towards if I was going for it, right? So COH is just a fantastic armor right here, right? Not only do you get the damage versus demons and undeads and the skills, you get strength, you get lots of all res, you get DR. Just a super solid armor overall. I would definitely say COH is the way to go. You can also use Enigma if you want to be teleporting around, right? These are kind of your two standard armors that you're going to be going for, right? In terms of helms, you have your COA is probably your go-to desired one. Let me find a COA. There's one. Oh, I don't have enough strength on this character. Let me take out some vitality. I don't have all my gear on, so that's why I'm like short on the strength, because normally you're going to get more strength from all the gear you're wearing, right? So when you plan out this build, have enough strength for all your gear. Once you've planned out how much strength you'll get from your gear, have enough dexterity for max block. We'll get to that in a second. And the rest of your points into vitality. That's how you're going to be doing your stats. Pretty simple. But anyways, back to this. So you can put a COA on. Obviously get like a 2 open socket, higher DR, better one than this, but whatever. It's a COA. So that's kind of something that you'll work towards right there. You can also do, like Guillaume's face if you want, right? I mean, look at this. This gives you crushing blow, deadly strike, strength, and hit recovery. So this is a fabulous, pretty easy to get helm that you could get earlier on. So I guess I should talk about all the alternatives while I do this. So helm, I'd say like COA and Guillaume's face are both very, very solid top picks. Yeah, you can also throw on, I'm trying to just think of like, there's lots of things. Shaco is always like a fine option, right? Skills, life, mana, DR. Sure, that's always fine, right? Like, you can do lots of things, but maybe like an Andes if you want or something. Rockstopper is a great early option, right? You just get massive resistances on it. And DR and hit recovery. So that's nice really early on. Yeah. Armors, COH, Enigma, things that can be cheaper. Obviously a stealth very early on is very nice. Additionally, you can look at things like a smoke, sure, get you some res if you really need it. You can look at, there's really a lot of armors, so it'll be hard to say. Gladiator's Bane is a fantastic armor. You get Cannot Be Frozen, which once again we talked about needing. Additionally, you get damage reduce and magic damage reduce, which both are pretty useful. Guardian Angel. A lot of people like to use Guardian Angel because you get those really high res that makes you pretty tanky versus any elemental stuff. You could use a Templar's Might if you wanted. Sure, why not, right? I mean, it's not like amazing, but it's okay. You can use Arcane's Valor isn't bad here. You can use Fortitude. You can use Treachery. Treachery is actually a very good cheap option as well. Really, just a lot of options for the armor. Duriel Shell is a great one. Once again, cannot be frozen. So if you have a really good shield that you want to use, but you need to give up the cannot be frozen, here's a way that you can do that kind of in that like intermediate area, right? Yeah, when you're like in Nightmare, early Hell, that can be a great place to kind of do all that stuff. Cool. So that kind of gives you some armor ideas right there. Belts, I'd say the number one belt is going to be Verdungo's. This is going to be what most people are going to be going for. Get that DR, get that vitality, get the hit recovery. Just a very strong belt. A lot of people also like String of Ears. Here you get some of the lifesteal. You also get the DR as well. So that's also very strong, right? And then you'll also see some people maybe be like, go for a rack because you get the +1 to all skills. And so that's really nice. You also get a close target on it, which is good. But a rack's, +1 to all skills is never like a terrible thing. Let's go ahead and jump into rings because we're here. Ravenfrost. A lot of people just run dual Ravenfrost, right? Just like, why not? I just get crazy dexterity. Once again, we were talking about going for max block. So you're saving a lot of points by getting the dexterity here. You're getting the attack rating. You're getting some added cold damage, some mana, some cold sorb. All of these stats are very good on this ring. And we want to be able to hit things, right? So having all of the AR from that can be nice. Additionally, you might want to go into some sort of dual leech ring like this, right? Mana steal, life steal, all res plus attack rating. That's a very nice ring. You might want something that gives you tons of attributes right here. But, you know, once again, I'd rather use like a raven probably in that case. You might want something with more resistances and all of that. So there's definitely some like rare rings you can grab. And then, of course, you can always use this. You can see you get the 1128 to attack rating. So massive attack rating. 10 to dexterity as well, which is very nice. And then you also get 75 to life, right? So a lot of people like to use Angelic's combination with a raven. Some people, or many people, like to use a BK ring. Where's my BK? Right, so they'll just put a Bolcathos ring on. Once again, you get lifesteal, you get life, you get 1 to all skills. Many options in here. The biggest thing I'm going to say is pretty much always going to be using at least one raven. Rare occasions you don't, but this is usually your cannot be frozen source that you're ultimately going to want to get to. And then it frees up those slots for what do I want for my Ammies? Do I want to run, you know, the Angelic set? Do I want to run Amara's? Do I want to run a Metal Grid, which can be very nice? A High Lords is very nice as well, right? I don't know if I have a High Lords over here. Let me see if it's on page 2. No. I've got so much random things around here. Ammies. Nokazins. Why do I have Nokazins in there? So anyways, High Lords is good. Get some Deadly Strike. You know, really many options for you to use. I know, my organization, ignore it. This is my like extra random things that I have, not my main characters things. So that kind of covers your jewelry right there. In terms of gloves, you really get a few options here. You can always use Drax. Drax are just a classic melee character glove. You get lifesteal, you get open wounds, you get strength, life after kill, and of course you get a chance to cast life tap, which whenever you have life tap on, you're just murdering everything and your life is just, it's always full, right? You just sit there and you just hit, and your life just bounces all the way up. You can never like die when life tap is on. It's pretty disgusting. So Drax are probably like the go-to glove that you're going to be seeing a lot of times. But additionally, there are plenty of other gloves that you might like. You might want some Steel Rends, right? Get some chance for Crushing Blow in there and some enhanced damage, plus strength. So Steel Rends are a late game, very high option. Some people like Soul Drainers because once again, you get the dual leech. So a lot of people enjoy having the dual leech right there. They get their leech really high, makes it hard for them to not die. And then very early on, Blood Fist are going to be fantastic. Sanders are going to be fantastic. Wilhelm's Pride or Whitson's Guard, whatever it is, that like weird set has the 20 IAS gloves. Those are going to be fantastic. And then Laying of Hands is also fantastic. You get massive damage to demons, which is very good PVM. You get 50% fire res, and you get 20 IAS. So this is, once again, a classic, just like, not hard to find glove, but can really help you out when you're, like, going through hell right here. So those are kind of the gloves that you'll gather along the way. That can be very nice. And you'll notice and determine on your own how you want to fight against the different monsters. If you want to be hitting faster, if you don't feel like you're safe enough, whatever it is. And you can make those adjustments. In terms of boots, obviously you have Goblin Toes if you want just really to up your crushing blow. They're always a decent option at 25% crushing blow. Gore Riders are going to be more often used by you in these options because you're going to get 30 fast run walk, 15% chance crushing blow, so only 10% less, 15% deadly strike. Remember, deadly strike has a chance to do double damage, and open wounds right there. Plus you get more ED. So this is kind of like your go-to boot that you are going to see on a majority of these, once again, melee characters. But this is kind of your later boot, right? So earlier on, you might find a pair of Goblin Toes and like those. You might also find some Water Walks. You might also find some Treks. Both of those are very good. Here's a pair of Treks right here. You get fast run walk. The hit recovery is really nice. Strength, vitality, always very, very solid. Additionally, Nat's boots can be nice early on just for run walk and for resistances. Sanders boots can be nice just for some run walk early on and a little bit of strength and dexterity. Hisaris can be a really early decent boot that you can find. Hotspurs, whatever. There's lots of little early boots that you'll get. You're not going to worry about those. But that's kind of your ultimate right here is get yourself a pair of Gore Riders. These are going to be absolutely murderous. Yeah, belt we talked about was Dungos and Iraq and some other ones along there. In terms of, I guess let's put an amulet on. Let's just kind of wish I had a High Lord's. Sure, let's put a Mars. Is there a run walk speed cap? So run walk is kind of strange in that it's got 3 different sources of run walk basically, and each one has its own diminishing returns to it, but they stack. So it's very strange how it works. You won't worry about that till you really start stacking it though, so don't worry too much. Shield Hawes is pretty much the play, I would say. This is just your easy go-to shield once again for a lot of paladins. You can also use an exile if you would like, right? Hawes is just going to get you tons of those res. So this is 69 res right here. On a Hawes. Plus you get the combat skills. Plus you get the paladin skills, and you get great blocking. Now, exile is also very good, but you're going to be losing some of the resistances. Obviously, this is only a 29 all-res exile instead of a 45 all-res exile. I just kind of used whatever base I had when making these things. But it's still very good. Once again, you get that chance to cast Life Tap yet again, which is super nice. You get Freeze's target. So super, super solid. And obviously you make it in the eth if you'd like for the higher defense because it has repairs of durability on it. So the chance for Life Tap is really kind of the really nice thing. But you can see you get Defiance as well. So you get a very big defense boost, right? This is kind of your high defense shield. This one will probably help out a little bit more with damage and all of that stuff. But you aren't going to get as much Life Tap, right? So easier to find, a little bit harder to find a really good shield than to make. You need a Vex and Ominist, and a Doll, I guess, right? So those are kind of your 2 great shields. Now, if we once again talk about earlier shields, you've got Rhyme Shield for your really cheap option. You can obviously just make a Spirit Shield like we have right here. You can find a good Paladin base. For instance, this one was 37 all-res. Put in the runes. Now I'm getting 72 cold, 72 light, 37 fire. Super nice, right? What more do you want? So, great way to just boost your resistances, get vitality, get mana, amazing hit recovery, 2 to all skills. I mean, Spirit, everybody knows Spirit's OP. So, another great shield to just make early, have along the way. You can also make a Sanctuary, which is Coco Mal, and you can put that in a Paladin shield. So if you get high res Paladin shield plus that, and you get a good roll. You can get like over 100 all res just from your shield alone. Or you can just get a 4 open socket Paladin shield that has high res and shove, 4 perfect diamonds in it. And that's 19 all res for each perfect diamond. And you can just have a very, very high res shield once again. So really, there's a ton of options for shields, going from the cheap option of just, I don't have any runes, I can make spirit, or I'm not even on ladder, I'm on single player or no pluggy, so I can't even make spirit. Perfect diamonds in a shield. To middle option, to like rhyme as well with Can't Be Frozen. Then middle options of like Sanctuary, and then to like higher options where you're starting to get into like Ahas, which isn't crazy hard to find, but it's still rare item. Or later on, an Exile, right? So these are kind of your options that you'll be using for that. And then lastly, we can talk about weapon. Also, for your offhand, of course, you want 6 bow CTA and just whatever spirit. And if you can get the spirit to also have to have Holy Shield on your War Scepter, then that's even better, right? But forget that stuff. This is just kind of your standard offhand, CTA, spirit. And then for weapons, you really kind of run into a few options here. So Grief is always kind of your crushing weapon that people love to use. I don't actually think I have a Grief right. Wait, hold up. I do. There it is. The Phase Blade. Okay. So Grief is just a classic, right? You just get massive damage from your Grief. So it's always very nice. The giant damage add, plus you get the ignore target defense. You get a little deadly strike, mana after kill, life after kill, blah, blah, blah. Just always a really good option. Doom, if you want the Holy Freeze and, whatnot. I don't know if I'd use a Doom as much here. That's probably a different build. Death is always a fun one, just because you have really high chance of crushing blow, and you get the mana steal as well. Crushing blow, deadly strike, and the chance for mana steal as well, which is really nice. Beast, if you want that fanaticism, but you're already using fanaticism, so this actually I wouldn't recommend here. E-botted Z, of course, people always love this weapon, just very high damage weapon. Obviously massive leech on it as well, so that's super helpful. And obviously like big attributes too, right? 30 to all attributes is actually super helpful. You're getting life, you're saving yourself on dex, you're saving yourself on mana, all of that stuff. So really you kind of run a variety of different options. Then for charms, yeah, it does have a Zod in it though. So once again, we're getting to like late stage items. We already talked about some of the weapons I would use earlier on, right? With like a Redeemer or whatever things. But later on, you can look at things like, oh, I have an Om Lo Cham, right? If you want to, right? Hell, El, Vexort, Goal. That's not that bad, right? Vex and Goal for a death. Obviously, getting the weapon can be a little tough, but, it's not terrible. You can make Last Wish, but that's even more expensive. So Grief is a great one because it just takes a low and a mal. Pretty cheap overall. Get yourself a 5 open socket Phase Blade or Zerker or whatever, and you can make a Grief. So Grief and Death, I feel like, are the two that are the easiest to make of the groupings. But it just kind of depends what you find, right? But once again, as we get on to the like richer and you go and you trade around, you get yourself a Zod rune. Cool. Okay, now you can maybe make yourself a E-botted Z. So once again, we can go and we can put on a Holy Shield and we can look at chance to block. And you can always try and figure out, how do I max chance to block, whatever it is. And, you can drop down. So this is also why I like Haas, because once again, you get a much better chance to block right there at a lower percent. There we go. Right. So this is just a simple put on my fanaticism. And then from here, you can just run around and, you know, go kill stuff, right? So, just, you know, pretty simple overall. I also don't have any charms, really, right? So here you can have offensive GCs. You can have life and attack rating GCs in there if you'd like. You can have, you know, max damage. You can have the whatever you need, combat GCs. Really, it's all good for this. So once again, combat's going to be boosting your zeal, your holy shield, both of which are nice. Offensive will be boosting your fanaticism, so not as good, right? The combat's probably a little better. And then, but a lot of people like to say, okay, well, getting the plus to skills doesn't do like that much. I'd rather have something that gives me a ton of AR and a ton of life, or something along those lines, right? So if I actually go over really fast to my sorceress, because she has all my charms, you know, like that would be a fine charm to throw on there, right? Just like, okay, cool. Nope, not that one. There's another one. There's another one, right? There's a giant AR and life charm, right? So like I could just throw this whole row, I guess, you know, all of that like onto that character, and it would really be helpful. So that's what a lot of zealots are going to be looking for. But combat skills also works, offensive wars, you know, all those things will be helpful in adding. And the richer you are, the more you can perfect all of that stuff. So that covers the regular zealot. I will go ahead and probably jump over and make a little bit more of a specific guide now for a Holy Freeze zealot that's a little bit more specific to that. But that covers kind of where you're going to be going with your skills, with your stats, with your gear along the way in the zealot guide. So thank you, YouTube, for watching. Mwah! Peace. Cool. Yeah, 3620s are great. Exactly. I guess I didn't cover mercenaries. All right, well, let's really quickly cover mercenaries. You can do what you want, really. Most people are going to be getting an Act 2 mercenary or an Act 5 mercenary. Both are very solid. Act 2 mercenary, you can get the defensive one from Nightmare if you would like to get you Holy Freeze. You can get the offensive one to get Might Aura if you would like. Or you can get an Act 5 mercenary and just give them, you know, a big old damage weapon and have them run around. Really, that's kind of up to you. I feel like I'll have a mercenary guide that I'll do later where I really talk about kind of the different mercenaries and where you use them for each character. But that's, you know, just kind of a really quick thing. So anyways, peace, YouTube.